Social media is ruining my life. It's not really ruining my life. It's just a very negative force in my life. I think a lot of people are struggling with social media, and there's a reason they've been drawn to it. And I think the general understanding of it is that we're pulled towards social media. We are dragged into it and drawn into it like a tar pit trap that we get stuck in and can't get ourselves out of it. And I think the idea I'm pursuing at the moment is that actually we're pushed to social media and we're drawn to it to look for something. When I go on social media, what I'm finding is that I'm watching these videos that are mostly garbage, but a portion of them is useful information, or a portion of them is accurate information, it seems to be. And a portion of those videos, probably about 1 in 30 videos I watch, actually gives me something useful in life, and it's a small piece of knowledge or wisdom, but it is useful and it does help me. And when I think about it, the kind of advice I get from those videos I don't get anywhere else in life. And I think that's quite normal now. I think that a lot of people they don't have people to ask about emotional challenges. They don't have people to talk to about difficulties learning or social things they struggle with, or health problems or that. Everyone's kind of embroiled in their own difficulties in life, and they don't have much time to take an interest in other people's problems generally. And that's just how it seems to me. Maybe I just know a lot of sucky people, but I do put a lot of time and effort into meeting good people who are a positive impact on me and the world. So I don't really think that's the problem. I think the problem is there's a lot of bad news and bad media and bad information, and people are very distracted by it and they haven't really got time to even consider thinking about how, what other people might want help with, what they can advise them with. Like I'm very open about my games design and the psychology stuff I learn, and sharing that with people when I get an opportunity. But I think it's a lack of kind of natural teachers and social teachers now, people who just kind of like teaching. Occasionally I meet someone who does something interesting and they're like, I don't want to talk about this, is my job, and that's fine, like they charge for it. But generally I think it maybe was a thing in days gone by, times of the past, that people would just teach more willingly and enjoy it as well, and feel like there was a benefit from it, whereas now everything's dog eat dog, make as much money for you can as yourself and forget about the rest of the world, because it's full of evil idiots. And so people are just like, well, I'm just going to charge for what I do, not share any of my time with anyone who doesn't pay for it, basically, or give me something in return. And there's a kind of a no culture of learning and teaching and passing on knowledge now. And I think for myself and for a lot of other people I know, the amount of information and knowledge that has been passed on from the previous generations is borderline nothing at all, which is not good. It makes us very vulnerable to a lot of things, and it also takes a massive amount of time learning things that other people just know because they were passed on that knowledge. And you do learn things by yourself, but you also end up drawn to things like Facebook, because they end up ironically being the only source of anything useful in terms of information. And so that's what I do. I go on Facebook or social media, Reddit, and I read and watch, because it is a connection to the world and the people who do things in the world that you can't or don't find in real life because of the lack of communities and I guess a general sense of animosity around people. There's a lack of warmth. And I'm in Bristol, and Bristol is a very warm place, and you can just go out and talk to people and have a lot of interesting conversations and deep conversations, and I do find those beneficial. It's quite rare you find someone who's kind of really committed to something and knows a lot about it and is talks openly about it, or in a way that isn't a load of gobbledygook like coders will talk about, or stock traders and that. They'll talk about this stuff and it's all these code words and abbreviations, which makes it inaccessible anyway. And there's also, I think, communication is not a common skill now either. I work as a rule editor, and that has kind of taught me the depth to which people do not understand communication anymore, to the point where you're having to constantly reassure people that when you say, I think this thing is like this, oh, I don't think that's an absolute truth for all people on earth. You have to keep clarifying stuff like that. There's just a lot of little caveats with conversations now to, you know, avoid one, you know, social crime or issue or something upsetting someone. You can't just talk openly, and I'm pretty good at that, and I know people who are good at that, and we do have good conversations. But the general noise of, you know, media influence is kind of everywhere, and it distracts people, and you end up you just log on to Facebook and have a look through there and get your knowledge that way. And so I think that's part of a potential problem, is that you try and seek that in the world and try and find people who, you know, talk deeply about things. I never really feel a need to go on social media when I'm, you know, having an interesting conversation with someone. I'm completely focused on it, and it's the same kind of feeling. It's the same type of attention to me as when you're watching something on social media. It's a source of information that's been put in front of you, or that is in front of you for whatever reason. Maybe you moved so that it was in front of you, like when you sit at a computer, or, you know, lift your phone in front of your face. I think, yeah, I guess that is it. No summary. Try and find things that interest you and people that interest you in the way that social media does, because it's learning. It's still a type of learning. I don't think what's happening is that we're getting hooked on just wasting hours a day learning things that don't have any value. It's just not the right value. We're learning about things we're never really going to use, and our brain assumes it's relevant because it's been shown to us. And I think that's why it works, because it's not, some of it's garbage, but a lot of it isn't garbage. A lot of it is just people talking about stuff they do know stuff about, and that's great. You can do that in person. It's not a done thing in person. It's not like people meet up to talk about what they know and what they've learned. Imagine every week you had a meet-up where people just discussed, you know, what they'd learned that week about themselves and about their friendships and their work and the industries and the politics of the country they live in, and that. You imagine how much more connected and healthy and efficient the whole country would be. It'd be a completely different place if that was like a socially normal thing that people did every week. But we don't even have anything like that. I wouldn't see years. Some people, they'll go, you know, years or decades just doing, you know, living their own lives, stuck in their own worlds, not really actually learning anything, just digesting this information from someone else on the internet instead of someone they met in person. Anyway, that's quite a long one. I don't know if this was supposed to be a short, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of social media. I think it has its uses. I don't think humans are built very well to deal with it, and I think part of that problem is because we have abandoned the things that gave us a reason not to use it in person in our real lives.